Let me start off by saying, by the way, because I realize I've never talked about this, and it's just a side note, but something I really love about this show is the opening. And I know it's like, why this episode talk about it? There's no reason. But I just really want to point out one of the things I really adore about this show. I mean, the opening's good, it sets up everything really nice, but the one element that I love, and I swear to God, Rob was telling me this too, we both laugh our asses off whenever you see Aang get that little wind ball, he rides around going, ha 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 ha, he smacks into that statue. Something about the way that is animated and the sound effect, it is perfect to have in that opening, and I'm glad that was a permanent part of the opening. And it always makes us laugh our asses off. So just, I know it's a weird side note to talk about, but I mean, just kudos to a really good opening, a really funny bit, because that shows very early on that the show will take itself very seriously and it has a lot of weight, but it's got really good funny moments too, because that was I can watch that a million times. I'm wondering if there's like a 10-hour loop of Aang hitting against the statue there. I wonder if somebody's made that, but if not, somebody make it. So, now I'm gonna get like 20 people sending me links to that. Well, regardless. Okay, so we got The Swamp is this episode, and I have to be honest, this is the first time I've seen an Avatar episode where I didn't know what to think of it. Partly because you don't know if this stuff is going to come back or if this is self-contained. If it's self-contained, it's a bit of a mess. A lot of the stuff doesn't quite go anywhere. It's like, oh, here's a bit of philosophy, here's a bit of action, here's a bit of new characters. The blue spirit comes back for a bit. Next episode. So if this stuff is gonna come back, it'll be interesting because I like to see it explored. If not, like I said, we got a little bit of philosophy, a little bit of action, some characters, but I don't know if it really quite came together per se, because there's some heavy dramatic moments in this too, with seeing like Sokka seeing his lost love, and you got Katara seeing her dead mother, and the question of who is the two people, well, one, I think one's a person, one's an animal, that Aang saw, so if, you know, or will see, so it seems like they're building a lot of the stuff up for later, but it's kind of, it's a big tease if that's the case, which isn't bad, you know, because it does ask what is going on here, and that's fun for the audience to ask there. We get a little bit more of Zuko and his uncle, begging mostly, which I like seeing, in the sense that I like seeing Zuko really have to, like, the kid hasn't suffered enough, but I like him going from this incredible position of power down to pretty much the lowest of the low, in a sense. I mean, down to even stealing people that helped them, like stealing essentially their horse. So, but on top of that, a level that even he finds hard to bear, because I think that was hard for the uncle to go through, stealing the animal, but I think it's hard for Zuko to go through begging. It seems like that's really something that would affect him and he would despise, and he does. There's a scene where a guy says he'll give a gold coin if the uncle dances and sings, and the uncle does it, not really thinking that much of it, maybe even a little too optimistic, honestly, or a little too happy, because literally the guy is hitting his feet and the uncle is trying to dance, and he gives him the gold coin and the uncle says, "What a nice man." Maybe that was supposed to be sarcastic, but even if it was, he seemed, even for the uncle, that seemed a little to turn the other cheek. I mean, again, this guy is in the Fire Nation, or was. You know, he was, like, leading commands and such, so that was a little strange, but I guess that's part of the fun of the character, too, is that he can take something that's just so terrible and find something to smile about, I guess. So, yeah, there's elements. I like the fact that the swamp was all one big tree. I thought that was really cool. That was a great idea. I like, we sort of get this world's interpretation of rednecks. It seems like it's what they're doing. They're trying to find these instruments that sound close to a banjo and try to have fun with it. I like the fact that if you weren't, you had to sort of wait for how they speak and what they say in order to figure out what they're satirizing. I kind of like you wouldn't exactly get it right away from their clothing. You wouldn't necessarily, because they have like these leaf hats and not much else. You wouldn't necessarily get, oh, that's like a redneck thing, or the hippies from a few episodes before. You wouldn't necessarily get their hippies until they start talking. So I kind of like that. It's not like this is a pure satire, we're gonna mock everything. You still sort of see this progression that this is how they evolved in this world. So I like that. And we get some ideas again with sort of how water bending can work a little bit more. You can sort of put the water through the leaves and you can raise that up, which is kind of interesting. How do they freeze the water, by the way? That's something I'm a little curious about. No, there's gonna be like a million people in the comments saying like, this is how they do it. I got a lot of flack for the moon thing, by the way, which is in some respects probably deserved. Because I did forget about the gravitational pull, which is pretty obvious. I'm talking about the Siege of the North. I say, why does the moon totally knock out their power? Which to me, it's still kind of a question, because they do have the water, and I can see it making them weaker, but why take away their power? But then again, the moon sort of moves the tide. It's sort of like the movement of the water, so that makes a little bit more sense. But then how does the Fire Nation make the fire? Well, maybe they'll go into that, and that's both the brilliance and the frustration of this show, is that you don't know what they're going to go into. And unlike Lost, most of the people know how it ends, and the show is still seen as very favorable and very good, and everything kind of comes back. So I do have to put a lot of trust in the show, which is not bad. And on top of that, I like how even if I say, hey, they should answer this, it's just a great chance for me to look like a dumbass when they do answer it in a future episode. Either it was all planned, or maybe that back then people were complaining, hey, you should answer this, and they're like, aha, it was our plan all along, even though they probably just got feedbacks from focus groups or something. So, yeah, again, overall with this episode, I know this review's kind of been everywhere, but it was okay. It'll be better if it all does tie together. It'll be interesting to see if this is the beginning of a lot of elements, but if not, it's just kind of clunky, but still interesting. You know, interesting clunky. So, yeah, like I said, it's hard to know what to say about, because I don't know where it's going to go. And the show has a habit of sometimes tying it all back together, and other times just, yeah, that sort of went and did that. So that's about it, and I shall see you guys at the next episode. Take care.